Hello, my name is Mingers and welcome to Unfiltered, Conversations with Creators. This is a podcast where we talk to content creators of all sizes about the journey of how they began, how they got to where they are now, and where they want to go to in the future. The aim is to create a fun and engaging resource that we can all learn from, as well as give us something to look back on in the future. In episode 5, we are joined by BHSLiiM, editor for Warzone pros Braalik and JoeWo. Sliim is also a great content creator in his own right. He boasts one of the cleanest setups and styles on the scene. This high quality content is mirrored in his work as a film and video editor. All of Sliim's socials will be displayed on the screen, as well as linked in the description below. Go check him out. He's a phenomenal content creator and a really nice guy. If you enjoy the podcast and this type of content, please like and subscribe. It'll really help a lot. And let me know in the comments down below what you liked hearing about the most. We have plenty more podcasts to release in the coming weeks, and you do not want to miss out on these conversations. So without taking up too much of your time, let's get started. Mr. Sliim, Justin.
Morning.
Morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. I need to ask you one question to get this thing started.
Sure.
And that is, what do you put in first, cereal or milk?
Oh, man. Cereal, of course. You put milk first. I don't know if I can trust you as a human. What are we doing?
Nah, that's facts. I feel like if you put cereal in first, you can adjust your ratio, like cereal to milk ratio, much more accurately.
Exactly. If you pour in the milk first, then it's just like everything floats at the top, I would assume. I don't know. I've never done it, but
yeah, it doesn't submerge itself. I don't think.
It's just weird vibes. I think we go cereal first all the time.
Yeah, that's quality.
Yeah.
Speaking of quality, the one thing I've noticed since your streams from the very start, the absolute highest quality, the audio, the visual, everything. Has that been something from the start? Because I only found you like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it definitely was not like that when I started streaming. I definitely had probably the cheapest webcam at the time when I started streaming, probably, I don't know, that was probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. So that was always the end goal, was to have like, the best quality that I could, given what I had to just make the stream seem high production. So, but it definitely did not start that way. It was very very amateur. I think my camera was horrible. The white balance was thrown off. I was probably blown out the whole time. It was ridiculous. But it's been a gradual step up in quality over the years. It's something that didn't happen overnight, that's for sure.
Would you say you started about 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, on Twitch. I started streaming. I think the first game I streamed, I want to say, was H1Z1, King of the Kill, back when it was like at its peak of popularity. That was back when guys like Ninja and I think Summit 1G was playing H1 on Twitch. And that's kind of like what got me into streaming. I was like, this is what I want to. H1Z1 was a super intriguing battle royale. Yeah, it was huge at that time. Like everybody was playing it. And that kind of got me into PC gaming. So I kind of started there, and I was like, I want to stream it. Well, I want to do what these guys are doing. So that's kind of what got me started on Twitch.
So I've got your Twitch tracker pulled up. I can see your stats. And you are right. It was October 2018 H1Z1.
Wow. Thanks, see? I knew it was H1Z1. Those were the good days too. If that game didn't completely die out, I'd probably still be streaming that.
I mean, I wasn't even gaming at that time, but I would catch YouTube videos of that. I've never played it before, but I just enjoyed watching it. It looked like such a vibe.
Yeah, it was, man. I think it was ahead of its time in this, to a certain degree. And then everything that followed that, after H1 came PUBG, Fortnite was after that, and then the whole building aspect. So it was revolutionary in a sense, and it's sad that it didn't stick around longer than what it did.
So wait, so you started watching that. gaming before that at all as a kid growing up, or was that sort of your first?
Oh, yeah. Games, I think, gaming was my first love for sure. I've been gaming since I was like 2. We have videos and photos of me like in the family albums of sitting in front of like a Nintendo back in the day playing against my aunts and uncles, and they would get mad because I was able to beat them, and here I am like 3-4 years old and beating them beating these grown adults at the game. So gaming's always been that was my first passion, something that kept me out of trouble and occupied growing up. So I've been a long time gamer for sure.
Dude, I remember I think my first memory was playing an Atari at someone's house once that I went with my family, and it was like all the adults were so excited to play it, and then like I wanted to turn, I was probably like 4 or something like that. And I remember I had like one go, I think it might have been like Pong or like the table tennis thing or something like that. And like I had one go, it ended really quick, and like my dad was like, "Oh, my turn again. I was like, "No turns for you, it's all mine." So.
Like, it is mine now.
Yeah, it's mine now.
Same thing. Like I think my first early memory of gaming was, I can't remember the name of the game, but it was like, it had the maybe you'll remember this though. It was like the old couple with they were like on the farm or something like that, and they were holding like a pitchfork or something. It was a weird cover art for the game, but like you did, so I think you protected the farm from like the things, like the ants and things that were attacking. I think maybe I can get you a picture of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be like a Space Invaders, but a different version or something.
Kind of with that. Yeah, it kind of had that vibe.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I was so young then, and No, I remember Nintendo mainly, like you. So
yeah.
How was the transition from gaming into streaming? Was it just from H1Z1 like I can do that, or did you have was it more casual, like, oh, you know what, I'm playing, I might as well stream?
Yeah, I think it was more of just a casual thing. A lot of my mainly friends at the time, we all I was on Xbox, on console for probably 10-12 years, something like that, before I transitioned to PC gaming. I'm a little bit older, a little bit of an old soul, but I was on console forever. So all of my friends at that time were kind of transitioning to PC gaming. I think amongst my close friends, anyways, I was probably the first one to kind of transition to the PC side of things and H1, and then slowly everybody started to trickle to PC. And that time it was like, well, if you're gonna play it, why don't you just stream it? I wasn't the best at H1Z1. I was, I had just transitioned to the keys, so I was fumbling over keybinds, and the gameplay was not anywhere near where I'm at today. And I'm still, even 6-7 years after making that transition to PC, I'm still kind of, I still fumble around the keys a little bit. So
I mean, I would respectfully disagree. I think your mouse and key gameplay, your movement, especially on Warzone, is very controller-esque. It's very smooth.
Well, thank you.
Very smooth.
Appreciate it. It's been a long journey to get there. That's for sure.
So, like, I can see your Twitch tracker, but it looks like you took a break from 2018 to 2020. Is that right? You didn't stream for like 2 years or something?
Yeah, I think there was a period in there where I just kind of, I guess, lost a little bit of motivation on Twitch. When you start and you kind of, to me, everything was new, and I didn't really have any, my follower count was super low at that time. I think I stayed under like 50 followers for the longest period of time. And I was so new to the content creation game, if you will, that I wasn't putting anything anywhere else. I wasn't doing YouTube. I don't even think I had a Twitter for the stream at that time. I was literally just going live on Twitch and expecting people to show up. And so I think there for a little bit, I lost a little bit of motivation. I just wasn't seeing growth, stopped streaming. And I think at that time I turned into more of a viewer than a streamer, and I started watching a lot more streams on Twitch. I think that's about the time that Warzone had kind of come out, and I was playing off stream and trying to get better. Especially that was my first, COD title on the keys, so that that was a struggle. But I started turning to guys like Zach and Joe. That's when I kind of started getting exposed to their communities on Twitch and started being more active. And then that kind of reignited the spark to stream and create content and do it the right way.
Yeah, that's the. It's pretty disheartening, is it, when you go live and there's no one there? Like, it's sort of like this expectation we all have that people are just going to be there just because we're live, but it doesn't work like that, does it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's cool if you can get a couple of your close friends that'll actually just pop in and say hello, to start. That does wonders. I've found in my streaming career anyways so far. But now it's it's a little bit easier now to have at least one or two people in there. I feel like if you do it the right way, if you're putting your content everywhere, it's a lot easier to get some new names in chat.
Definitely. It always helps having the other socials. Like, that's something I really listen to Joe on, because Joe likes to go on his hour or two before he actually plays a game. Now he's just chatting and he talks about your stream is your business and all these.
I think he's the new Tim the Tap Man.
He is. He's a just chatting streamer.
He's a just chatting streamer. Yeah, for sure.
No, he gives like really good free advice. Just very generous with his time like that, and his thing is always use your everything you can, clip, record, make sure the quality is good, and post to everything, because you can't grow just on Twitch. You have to post everywhere else. It's crazy.
I think you gotta. I do this myself, which I need to stop. Is you can't. I think you got to be careful and not get too romantic with the content that you're posting, because if you do, you'll never post anything. Right? Oh, I can't post that gameplay. It's not good enough. I didn't go off. People aren't going to watch a 10 or 15 kill game, right? But if you set that standard for every piece of content you record, I mean, you know how Warzone is. You could go an hour or two before you have a decent game, but you might have had some really awesome clips in there at some point that you could use and you could post it. So if you get too romantic, you'll just never post. So that I think that's something that I have to remind myself, is just don't fall in love with the clip. It's okay. Just post it. There will be another gameplay.
The bar doesn't have to be, all the way to the roof. Like, especially if you're not full time and you only get so many hours a week you can play.
Exactly.
But you've made the switch to being a full time editor, content creator for some big names now. So how did that transition happen from being a streamer, watching streams, to editing other people's stuff?
Well, I started. I worked as a IT guy, so I was a network and systems administrator, full time. I was doing that for almost 12 years, kind of throughout like the start of my streaming journey and content creation. So that took up a lot of my time, and I was always doing stuff with gaming and streaming and video outside of work. And it just got to a point where I was like, this is the stuff that I'm really passionate about. It's where I'm spending a lot of my time and a lot of my energy. I was getting more and more involved in Z Stream and Joe Stream. And I just thought, now is probably the best time for me to, if I'm going to make a change, to do it. So I decided to leave the corporate world and chase my dream of starting a media company, that including the stream and content and cinematography. And it worked out. I think on Twitch right now I average somewhere around like 7 viewers or something like that, which is still amazing. On Twitch, I think I saw a stat somewhere. I think it was actually shared on the Eavesdrop podcast episode with Joe. I think Hex had mentioned, if you have, if you're averaging like more than 5, you're in the top like 1% of Twitch or something like that, which is insane. So to even be averaging those kind of numbers in such an early stage of my streaming career is amazing, and I'm thankful for everybody that shows up. But that transition was just kind of natural. I was just really consumed with Twitch content and Warzone stuff, and obviously I had a little bit of help and motivation to do that with the IRL stuff, with the videography and cinematography work that I do. So that kind of helped me make that decision, but it definitely was not easy. That was terrifying. It was a decision that took me the better part of that decade that I worked, in the corporate America world. Something that I always kind of, I guess, fantasized about. It was like, I want to, I want to do what these guys are doing. I want to create content. I want to, I'm passionate about gaming. I want to be in the space in some degree. I never thought that it would be to the extent that it is now. I'm super honored and blessed to have the opportunity to edit for Joe, and for guys like Braalik as well. And it's being, I never thought I would be involved in this capacity, to be able, especially, Joe, he's, just his growth has been insane over the last couple of years. I started watching him when he was, I think he at that time averaged like maybe 150 on Twitch, 150 viewers. So to see him now setting at like 2 or 3K while he's just chatting is insane.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it was amazing the way it all worked out. So I'm very honored and blessed to be in the position I'm in now.
Dude, so I remember, I think I might have found Joe and Z around about the same time as you, probably a couple months after you or something like that. So I found them through Iceman Isaac, and I was a bit late to Warzone, but through Iceman Isaac found Z, found Joe. And I always remember seeing your name in the stream, like in the chat, always there. And everyone was like, oh, like, I don't know. I think maybe you raided Z once or Joe, and like you threw a host over or something like that. And I remember seeing your name pop up, and I was like, oh my God, it's another streamer. And like, he's always chatting in the chat. Oh my God. And I was actually very intimidated by seeing your name in chat. I was like, dude, this guy's a streamer. And I checked you out and started following you since then. But
you're like, oh wait, he's a nobody.
No, you're fine. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, the one thing that I think puts your stream on top of almost anyone else I've seen, especially at the size you are, like it's very professional level sound and video. And obviously you know what you're doing with your background in, videography and all that kind of stuff. So when did that start, and how long till you transitioned what you found and learned through work into your either editing or your streaming setup?
Yeah, so like I said, the stream, the quality was definitely not there at the beginning, but throughout the years, having the media business outside of stream and doing, I shoot weddings, parties. I just shot a music video last week, which was really a cool moment for me in the business. But just kind of, through bettering that business through gear and camera equipment and lighting, trying to find a way, I found that a lot of the times between shoots and between projects, my camera would be sitting on the shelf collecting dust, and the same thing for the lights and the other equipment. And the only time I would use it is when I had, a shoot to do. And I just, one day I was like, why don't I use this on stream? Why don't I use my high dollar camera that I invested all this, cash into? It's just sitting here collecting dust. And then it kind of feels foreign in a way to get it out and start using it again whenever I have projects. So yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, let me incorporate what I've invested into the business, into the stream, because the stream is a business as well. And, let me up the quality there. So that started with, getting a cam link so I could use the Sony a7 III that, that is now my main camera for stream. And then when I'm not streaming, I take that off the tripod and I use it, to shoot videos. But started there. We got the cam link. Audio has always been a huge thing for me because my audio early on was horrible. My mic
I think everyone's audio early on
Yeah.
is horrible.
Yeah, and that was something that was probably the first thing I upgraded, aside from like the camera stuff, was audio. I started with, I think I still have it. It's like a like almost like a DJ mixer of sorts, which helped me. I don't know if it really helped or hurt the stream because I don't think the audio got any better when I got that. But we graduated from that to not really having any sort of audio interface at all for the stream. I got that, and then that was complicated once I kind of got into like the dual PC stuff, and eventually got the Go XLR, and that helped tremendously kind of simplify audio, and just making those little subtle upgrades and incorporating the videography business into the stream and trying to just make it the best quality that I could, using things like practicals and lighting. I have the light tube behind me and the the LED light strips, just something to add a little bit of like my personality into it, and like what I look for whenever I'm on Twitch. A lot of the things that draws me to a stream on Twitch is the camera. What is it? What's the setup look like? I'm always drawn into like the really dope camera setups. Nade Shot for me has always been somebody that I've followed him way back in his optic days, and still to this day he's always got one of the most intriguing webcam setups. He's got the lights going and it just looks so good, and it's like I want to click on that stream. I want to interact with that person. I think that's that's something that we all have control of, especially starting out in streaming, and I think that's something that you can start to invest in early on and really set yourself apart from everybody else that's just sitting there with the webcam and they're playing in the darks, and you just can't really, So I'd rather interact with somebody that's, got full on RGB behind them, and you can tell that they care about, how they're presenting themselves to the stream.
No, that's right. Yeah, I think we all start off. Obviously, no one's going to go out and spend hundreds, thousands of dollars on equipment straight up. I mean, you can eventually get there and like one piece of equipment at a time, slowly grow, like you said, not one big hit. I mean, audio is probably the biggest one I think every streamer has to face, especially when you go dual PC and you have to figure that thing out because there's cables everywhere.
Dual PC audio is the worst, and that was the most complicated thing. But you gotta obviously it's an investment, and this stuff streaming, the Stream Decks, the Elgato products, they're great, but they're not cheap. The Go XLR isn't cheap, and even the dual PC setup I have now, everything that I'm sitting in front of, I slowly built. I built my first computer, obviously with my knowledge and stuff in the IT world. I was able to build a PC, and then I slowly upgraded that PC, part by part. We upgraded the GPU and then the CPU, and eventually got it to a point where I was able to build another computer and kind of use some of those components and just kind of, work with what I had and upgrade as I could to get to where I am, today with the stream. Yeah.
You don't have to go too crazy, of course. Like, not everyone can afford a huge lens, but I think what you touched on, lighting, like even if you have a cheaper webcam, you can light your room up much better, and it makes the webcam look chalk and cheese to if you're playing in the dark, like you said, and you're just using your PC as your light on your face.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could use this little, a little 1080p webcam, whatever, and if you light it correctly, it will look just as good as an actual camera. So lighting is, I think a lot of people underestimate what you can do with lighting. And a quick search on YouTube, stream lighting setups or whatever. I think Harris Heller has some great videos on lighting. I've watched several of his, so it's easy to make your stream look better.
Definitely, absolutely. And I think that's important to note that not everyone gets there overnight, but you can do some great things and have a very, very quality looking setup like yourself. And it might take time, but you can get there. Yeah. Because like you said, you look for those kinds of things, and when you're watching a stream, you look at their quality, their webcam, their setup, and everything like that. And I think my theory is that the streamers that you enjoy watching, or the streams that you enjoy watching, is the type of streamer that you will be when you are streaming. And yeah, I feel like that's pretty fitting, especially like you said, you like to watch the quality things, you like to see the camera, you like to see the lights, the colors, what they do in their background.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, watching, I'm not a insanely cracked player like Joe or Z, but I think those two guys especially have really great webcam setups, and it just looks good on stream. So not only is it cool to, like, if I'm not being super active in chat or whatever, I can pull them up and it's pleasant to look at. They got great lighting. Yeah. The gameplay is cracked, 99% of the time. So they're just, it's fun to watch. And I find that even streamers that don't stream Warzone or, other games that I'm looking into, to just kind of vibe and chat or whatever, the gameplay is almost secondary to the quality of the stream. But for me, anyways. So, yeah, I think I agree with that. A lot of the streams that you watch and the streams that you interact with, I think influences a lot of what you do in your own stream, especially.
Yeah. Some people like the gameplay focused thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some people don't even have a webcam and they just, you don't even see their face ever. And some people are fine with that, and that's great. But personally, my personal thing is I love streamers who can interact with chat. Joe and Z being probably the prime example that I watch anyway. And even with the friends and the homies that I watch, like you too, very interactive, still talkative. Even if there's not many people in there, it's always a good time, no matter who's in there. Like, you still bring the vibes. Yeah. I think that's very important too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy too, because I was never like a social butterfly in school. I was, I've always kind of been introverted in a way and just kind of kept to myself. So to be live streaming and have people watching me, it's still kind of weird and surreal in a way to this day, even if there's only a couple of people in chat, to be able to interact and kind of, be on, if you will. And it's always been, it's something that I never thought I would be doing, especially in my younger days when I was just terrified socially to interact with anybody.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
me too, man.
Yeah, it's like I don't think if you were to pop in, to stream now and say something or try to interact, I don't think you get that impression that I was ever socially awkward or just didn't like talking to people. So it's definitely the glow up's been real for sure.
It's good, man. I love it. And yeah, I agree. I'm the same. I was very shy, and even now I'm probably not the most talkative person, but I stream to push the boundaries a little bit and try and get better at it. And it's really good because it gives you a way to think of things to say, because I'm a very quiet guy, but if you're not talking on stream, there's no one else talking, there's no other sound unless you're playing a game. But yeah, if you're just sitting there in silence, it's so quiet. So it's really good practice to try and just talk and find things to say and expand your horizons like that, for sure.
Yeah. I'm always talking to myself on stream, even if nobody's there. I'm just talking about whatever.
No, you have to.
Yeah, have to. Yeah.
So what's the biggest raid you had? Because I think Z might have hosted you once.
Yeah. So biggest raid, I think, was Mr. JoeWo.
Joe.
I think Joe's raid, I want to say he raided me one time with I want to say it was around 3,000 people or something like that. Which was insane. That hands down was the biggest raid I've ever had in my life, and I did not know what to do. I was completely just deer in headlight moment. What do I do? I'll never forget that. But he was the biggest. The first raid was Z. Z hit me with, I think it was 600 or something like that. That's when all of Saw Gang found me, and I owe a lot to Z because he kind of kicked off at least the affiliate part of my journey on Twitch. I think at that time
Okay.
I think I just needed I think I had the viewership, the average viewership. I just needed the followers. You know, I think 20 or so under 50 or whatever it was at that time. So whenever Z rated me, you know, that everybody went crazy. We got affiliated that stream, and then, you know, the rest is history. But Joe for sure was my biggest. I think Z was second, and then I got a Sweet Tails raid, if you're familiar with who she is.
Yeah, Sweet Tails, yeah.
I got a Sweet Tails raid at one point. I think that was like 400 or something, 400 or 500 people, which was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's always getting rated is always. I've watched that obviously over the years, being on Twitch and watching people react, and it's always so cool to see people that are really genuine and humble in the way they respond, and just that's always a cool moment. But to have it happen to you is something that, like, still to this day when I get rated, it's like, oh, what do I do? What do I say?
It's
like,
very
oh, they're
sudden,
looking at me.
isn't
What
it?
do I do? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's
I feel that. It's really weird when, like, I don't know. Do you have your viewer count up when you're streaming at all?
I do not. I used to.
You don't.
I used to.
Yep.
I used to, especially in the early days of streaming. And what I found is that I would always glance over at it, and I felt like that would then dictate the energy that I had on stream. So I would say in the last probably 6 months or so, I have turned the viewer count off. So I don't even, like, whether it's 1 people or 100 people, it doesn't matter. I'm acting the same way, because I just felt like I was drawn to that number too much. And I think that, that's a bad habit to get into, to, you know, especially early on in streaming, to focus on the numbers, because the numbers are always going to fluctuate, you know, depending on the day. You know, I could go live and maybe there's somebody else that's bigger than me, that's, you know, more cracked at Warzone, so they're gonna naturally go watch them over me. So the viewer count is gonna fluctuate, and you know, like I said with the clips, you can't get romantic about it. It's gonna go up and down every day. There might be 3 people in the stream at one point, there might be 30 people, and you just gotta learn to not let that sway how you present yourself, especially to the stream and for the whatever content it is that you're trying to, you know, record.
Nah, facts. Especially because you never know who's in your stream. Like, you could have people in there lurking, big names, small names, could be potential sponsors. You don't know who's in there. So if you're only on for when there's people in, it's sort of like you can get caught off guard, because people could be in there. Like, the viewer count is bugged. Like, you can't. It's always very delayed. You don't know who's in the chat at the time, and like you said, it's pretty important to turn it off and just be you, regardless of how many people are in.
Exactly.
But I will say it is very, I'm going to say, jarring if, like, you've had a long time with maybe a few viewers and, you know, maybe a few chatters, and then all of a sudden you get a big raid. Like, people always think, I'm going to get a big raid, it's going to be awesome, I'm going to go off, and, you know, I'm going to be so entertaining and whatever. But the first raid I got was like 20 or 30 people, and I was like you said, a deer in the headlights with Joe with 3K, but I felt weird. I felt like I had to get off. I wanted to shy away from the stream. I was like, oh, people are here, okay, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I felt very weird. And I feel like once you go through getting used to seeing those numbers pop up on your screen, and it's not guaranteed. You're never guaranteed to be rated by anyone.
Right.
But you don't know I feel like you don't know how to handle it until you've gone through it, and, like, you could get thrown a raid by Swag or Huskers or whatever, a few thousand people, but you won't always know how to handle it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think everything happens so quickly too. You know, the raid comes through, and then, you know, people will start following, and it's always, you know, in the raids that I've had, especially the massive raids, it's always hard to keep up with that. You know, Streamlabs is going crazy, and it's like when it's manageable and it's like, you know, 10, 20 people and, you know, a couple follows come through, it's easy to, you know, be present in that moment and kind of think each one that comes in. But when there's, you know, it's just a whole group of people there, and then the activity feed is just going insane. I immediately just am like, oh no, I didn't thank somebody for following, or what
Yeah.
it's very, like you said, it's very jarring, and I think I'm getting better at that over time. But it's still, like I said, it's still to this day, it's one of those things where get rated, things start happening, and it's just so hard to keep up with it. And I think, maybe you can't, maybe you can't keep up with it, and that's just the way that raids are supposed to go. I don't know. But
there has to be a point where there's too many people to keep up with.
Yeah. I think maybe at some point the viewers, well, at least I guess I think about it this way, is maybe they don't expect a response, but they're just your reaction to everything happening is their validation for like the follow or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. What was the chat like with 3,000 people in there? Like this stuff.
Oh man,
you can't even see it. It's like a blur. I'm imagining.
That was insane. I think that's clipped somewhere. I've those moments like that, I always go back and either clip or save, just because those are, it's crazy.
That's unreal.
But yeah, the chat just is insane. I mean, it's just going off, people spamming emotes and saying whatever, and it's just such a blur that even if, I have a couple of trolls that naturally are just in there,
you wouldn't see it.
That you wouldn't see it. Just it's like a scoreboard or something. It just keeps going, and then people follow, and if they gift or whatever, it's just insane. So it's hard to keep up with.
That's insane. I love hearing that. That was so good. That's so good to hear. But so when we're talking about growth through other platforms and stuff like that, I know you're pretty active on YouTube Shorts and TikTok and all that kind of stuff when you can. How have you felt scheduling time to edit things and keep on top of your other commitments? Like obviously before you became full-time, you had your job as well to worry about. How did you find the time and schedule yourself to put out enough content to keep that stuff rolling?
It was tough. It was always, especially when I was working, full-time, and I had, I was dedicating 40 to 50 hours a week, just for that. Coming home, and then, the streams at that point in time were really in the evening. And a lot of the time they were, the stream wouldn't go live until, 9 p.m. my time, and I would stream until midnight or 1 a.m. So scheduling content was always, it was always a struggle, because, where do you find the time? Do I stream or do I record? What's more important? Where do I prioritize that? But what I found is that, over time, if you want to grow the stream, you have to have content, and you have to put that out on the social. So you have to schedule that and make that a priority. Whether you do it, what I found that works for me is usually if I'm doing like a recorded piece, I'll do it before I hop on stream. That way, once I go live, if I'm streaming for 4 or 6 hours, whatever, then that's where all of my attention goes. And of course, while I'm streaming, I'm recording as well. So in case I get a good game, or we do something crazy on stream, or funny, whatever, reactions type content, I have that recording, and then I can, post that to YouTube or TikTok, wherever it may be. But I still struggle, even at this stage, to prioritize content. I started a Road to 30 series for Warzone on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm still chasing that to this day. I haven't been able to get anywhere near 30 on the map recently. Just, it's been a struggle, but
that's how it goes.
It's just how it goes. Yeah. But the content pieces like that are, I don't know if I want to use the term evergreen, but that just is what comes to mind. Kind of just content that never ages, in a sense. Road 2 series are really have always been popular for me on YouTube. I enjoy watching them as well. I remember watching Nade's Road to 100 No series back on YouTube. Those were always fun to watch. So Yeah, man, scheduling content is tough, and I'm still trying to find that happy medium and balance, especially with the position I'm in now, with doing the cinematography full time, editing for Joe and Braalik. You know, that keeps me pretty preoccupied, because especially Joe's really on top of content and making sure he has stuff for his socials. And in a lot of ways, Joe inspires me to stay on top of you know, my content, and try to, the way that he can go about, or the way that he goes about, you know, getting content pieces and reacting to old clips, and, you know, branching out and trying different games like Apex and Valorant and things like that. That inspires me to kind of get my own content schedule in check, you know, and make sure that I'm trying to stay as active as possible on social media.
I know. It's definitely a tough one. I was actually just wondering just then, there's someone like Joe, who's obviously, he's got a lot of content. He's streaming all the time, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of shorts, a lot of TikToks, everything like that. Is there a sort of like, I don't know what you would call it, like a buffer, or like a build-up of content? So if he didn't get something one day, he still has a pool of things to post? Or like if he got sick and he couldn't do anything for a few days, does he still have that sort of production line of things already in motion where he could miss a few days and still have enough stuff to post? Is that something that happens?
I think that's the goal for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's been, you know, in the last couple of months that I've been working, you know, with Joe and Brandon, there's been several weeks where Joe has content that, even if nothing else happens, you know, if he doesn't drop a 30, which that's, you know, he's going to drop a 30. Even if he doesn't pop off or he doesn't get a particular piece of content, he usually has content to fall back on. And it just stems from, you know, that habit of, you know, recording all the time, and, you know, well, I didn't drop 35 this game, but I dropped 28. Let's use that one. You know, let's put that on the more JoeWo channel, or maybe we use this for the main channel. So he definitely has a catalog, if you will, of content to fall back on. But there's also weeks where, you know, we're meeting on a Monday or Tuesday to discuss content for the week. And, you know, let's try for this, or this changed in Warzone, you know, get a gameplay with this gun because now it's meta, and, you know, that type of thing. So
that's really interesting. I love that. I love hearing, because obviously I've spoken to Brandon as well, how involved Joe is with that kind of thing, and staying in touch and making sure he knows what's going on. And he's like, seems like he has a goal, and he sort of puts all these steps in place. And obviously guys like you and Brandon are important because you're so talented in being able to showcase one of, if not the best Warzone players. Like the quality of the production matches the quality of his gameplay, I feel like. So I think that's very important.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know if talent's the right word, but we're definitely, we're doing something over here for sure. But no, he's, you know, Joe's insanely cracked at the game. So it makes our job a little bit easier when you have somebody, you know, especially at Joe's caliber, that, you know, he's flashy. He you know, he's dropping high kills 99% of the time. So it makes content and producing that content, you know, obviously a little bit easier. It doesn't make, I'm not saying that the editing's easy, but, you know, it definitely helps with, you know, the flow of content and the gameplay. With, like, when I sit down with a Joe edit, you know, 9 times out of 10, I already know that, you know, he's going to have crazy sequences. I kind of know, and you know, I've trained myself in a way to, you know, especially with Joe's content, you know, I know what to expect, and I know what to look for in the editing process, which makes that, you know, a little bit easier and a little bit, I guess, more productive.
Yeah, you've got that flow, because obviously you've had that experience doing your own edits and stuff like that. And something I felt like was really unique, which I saw from you, which I mean, I'm not huge on following everyone on TikTok and everything like that, but one of your things that I noticed that you do more than most people, and you do it very well, is the like a clean, smooth, slow motion, speed up, slow down kind of thing. I feel like that's your signature kind of move. Edit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Is that something you like attempt? Is that like something you're aware of, or you just love that edit?
It's funny that you say that. I do love the slow-mo edits. I think those are that's some of the most enjoyable stuff for me to watch on TikTok, especially if it's done right, yeah. But I think, Brandon and I, we joke with each other quite a bit, and he's like, he knows my editing style probably more than anybody at this point. Yeah. But that's kind of just a staple, especially in, the edit off we did, a couple days ago. He already knows that there's going to be some sort of optical slow down when I'm editing something. So it's now become like a thing where like that's like when, that's kind of like the Sliim slow-mo thing is, slowing stuff down. But speed ramping is something that I've always enjoyed, not just for gameplay content, but IRL content as well. Something to speed ramp and really draw emotion to a particular point in the video, whether that's with gameplay or, for example, I shot a music video last week and I did a little bit of speed ramping with one of the shots at the end of the video. We pop confetti and that looks really good in slow motion. So I think I'm just naturally drawn to just slow motion. I don't know. I think it's cool.
It's dramatic.
It's dramatic. The dramatic cinematics.
Yep. So when you came on board with Joe, so is there sort of like this is the style we're going for, or does he bring you on board so he has your style and you're pretty much given the not free reign, but that's your creative freedom kind of thing?
Yeah. I think with I'm doing a lot of the edits for the More JoeWo channel. So, that initial conversation with Joe and Brandon was, we just want to post as much as we can on the second channel, and it's kind of you do what you want with it. Obviously, if they watch those things back, and if there's something that doesn't fit with the theme or whatever, we'll adjust accordingly. But honestly, we haven't had that happen. It's kind of been more of they just gave me creative control over the content and do with it as you will type of thing, which is super cool because they they trust me with the content.
They trust you. Yeah.
So super super blessed to be in that kind of position and have that kind of respect with those two individuals, because I respect them greatly as well. So they just kind of let me do what I want with it, with the content. And I always, I talk to Brandon a couple of times a week, and I'm always asking him for feedback on things. I'm like, do you think this looks better, or should I include, like on reaction videos, should I include the chat here, or what are you thinking? So we're constantly collaborating.
There's dialogue.
And where there's communication, the dialogue's always there. Which is super important, especially when you're working, as a team, for Joe, and Joe's very involved with both Brandon and I, when it comes to the editing process, and he's always making sure, what do you guys need from me type of thing? Do you need an intro? Do you need an outro? He's very active in that, which is super helpful. And I love that about Joe. He makes sure that, he and I have what we need to do the job, for him and to get, the content out.
No, that's a win-win because obviously makes your life easier, and it's better content for him. And at the end of the day, the end product is a lot better. But is there, I mean, I know it's a professional thing, but have you got any criticism from somebody else about what you've done, or maybe, redo this, I didn't like this, like not just from Joe, from anyone? Could be wedding videos, could be music videos. That criticism obviously depends on how it's delivered, but does it sting sometimes, or is it sort of just part of the game and you roll with it?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to roll with the punches, but constructive criticism is just part of the game, and you gotta
constructive,
as long as it's constructive, I think there's always room for that, in the work. Recently, like I mentioned, doing the music video shoot, I had cut that whole thing together, and my first edit I had sent, to the artist and their team, and they watched it and they had some. They liked the flow of the video. They liked the direction that I went with it, but they had a couple things they want to change. So, I had to bring that back to the editing bay and really just kind of look at the overall flow of the video. And ultimately I took their feedback, and I think what that second cut of it, given that, constructive criticism and the really good feedback, and we think this needs to change here, helped me produce the second rendition of the video that I think was way better than the first cut. So you sometimes you have to have difficult conversations, and sometimes people, what you think looked great, maybe they didn't think it looked as good as you thought. So you have to, you got to kind of bob and weave a little bit and, make tweaks here and there. But, that's one example of the IRL stuff. As far as gameplay is concerned, I think there hasn't been anything super like, Sliim, I didn't like the way you did that. It's been more of, I think, especially with Brandon, talking with him, it's been more of like, I think the intro sequence could have flowed a little bit better if you would have, cut here or added this, type of thing. I think we're always trying to figure out how we can keep the audience retention rate, especially at the beginning of videos. So that's something that we're always tweaking. That's one of those things where I'm always asking B, this is my initial cut of it. What do you think? Would you did you stick around for the start of the video? If not, what can I change, type of thing. So you always got to be open to feedback and, pivot and, adjust accordingly.
I think it makes it a lot easier when you've got someone like B who's been doing it for a while and is very involved with everything, and bouncing that information off him is, I'm sure, is very, very helpful. And it's probably a lot easier coming from people you work with. You have the same sort of end goal. Like you all want the same thing, to be successful, to have the same retention on everything and like that. But what about outside? Because I've noticed a few things. Like I spoke to Brandon about how I thought a lot of his things, like the door transitions, and he's brought in a lot of different styles to, Joe and Z. That's not just, this is the gameplay, these are the kills, here's a few cuts. Like he's brought a lot of cinematic stuff you do, the ramp ups, the speed ramps, and the movement tapes in particular was something like where it's very cinematic, it's very dramatic. There's so many different effects, and there was people in the comments being like, I didn't get to see the clip, man. Too many edits, it ruined the clip, kind of thing. It's like, you kind of miss the point of the whole video, but fair enough. What's here that kind of stuff like? Because the first time you get people on the internet, I feel like, criticizing your stuff, it hits different compared to getting constructive feedback.
Yeah. I think the internet trolls are, they really, they can get to you. The YouTube comments are, I haven't experienced that to the extent that somebody like Joe does, obviously, with his viewership and, his content being, sought after type of thing. I couldn't imagine getting those type of trolly comments, on a regular basis. I've had a little bit on TikTok. I think the TikTok trolls are just always there.
Yeah, I think they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. But it's interesting, especially with the movement tapes, because that was something that B was super passionate about, that, and the direction of that, and kind of the concept. Was something that I remember speaking to him about as he was editing, the movement tapes. And I remember when he told me the concept, I was like, dude, I love that. Like, that's going to be so dope for Joe. I think that fits perfectly. I love the style. And he shared it to me before, it was posted, and I watched it, and I was just like, I was floored. I was like, B, that's so good. And he's like, do you think?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yes, bro.
It's like a movie.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? That was perfect. And to see some of the comments and some of the people connecting with it and kind of, you know, feeling the creative style and what B was going for with it was super cool to see. But then to see some of the people that just completely missed, like, you know, movement tapes, the way it opened, putting the, you know, the tape
VHS,
in, like the whole, like, how did you miss like its movement? To like, how do you miss the concept of that? So it's always interesting to see like how far something can go over somebody's head on the internet. So
do you read the YouTube comments on videos that you edit for like Braalik or Joe or anything like that? Do you go through any of them?
yeah,
You do?
I do. Yeah, those are always. I think for me, it's something that I do just to like, and I'll usually like a video will go live that I've edited for Joe, for example, and I'll usually let, you know, a couple hours go by before I like check in on the video just to see how it's doing, and also to see like some of the comments, just especially if I do something like when I try to channel my inner Brandon and do like a crazy door transition or something like that.
Yeah.
I try to see if anybody caught that, you know, like if there's any comments, and you know, sometimes there are, and then of course there's other times where people are like, why did you cut here? I don't understand. It's like, dude, come on. But yeah, I definitely check them. I think getting caught up in the comment section on any platform can be,
That's a black hole.
yeah, it's something you got to be really careful with, because it can deflate you really, really quickly. Really, one comment can just deflate you. And I almost, for me, at least now, the last, I think I posted a TikTok the other day. It was a Valorant TikTok, but I posted it and I don't think it popped off at all, but I didn't even look at the comments. You know, I just posted it, move on to the next piece. And I think that's something that, at least for myself, I'll be doing a lot more of, especially with like longer form YouTube content. Not that I won't respond to comments, because I think that, you know, interaction is helpful for the video and growth. But it's like walking on eggshells. It's weird. It's weird. Comment sections are tricky.
They are weird. Personally, I've gotten ones where I've been called, you know, terrible at the game, a bot or whatever, and being accused of hacking in the same section by different people. Like, it's pick a direction, guys. So, you know, you're all on one page or the other. It's just better not to listen.
One of my favorites that kind of, I guess, they went after me was on one of my Warzone clips on TikTok. I slowed down. I had a fight top prison, and I slowed down the B-hop out from behind the AC unit. I slowed down the B-hop because I was able to kill the guy, and with the misdirection is what won that gunfight. So I wanted to emphasize that, so I slowed it down. And one of the comments was like, you know, you slowed it down for no reason. Like, did you watch the clip?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Some people just want to see the straight clip and that's it. But it's sort of that's so easy to do. I think, yeah, those types of people don't really appreciate the kind of work that goes into making a really good slow-mo clip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was, and I thought it looked really good too. On top of that, I'm like, come on, what are we talking about here?
What are we talking about, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
So dealing with the kind of negativity and that kind of stuff, is it something you've just naturally been good at, or is it something you've had to work on? Like, I know it's deflating, but you know, I'm assuming the first couple were very deflating, and then it's sort of you get better at dealing with it as you keep going, as you grow.
Yeah, I think it's something that it's kind of like a muscle. You know, you have to work it to kind of get that thick skin and let it not bother you as much when it does happen, because it's naturally going to happen. You're going to have comments. You're going to have people pop into stream and troll and say, you know, you suck at the game, or why are people watching you? You know, whatever the case may be. To give you another example, I had a individual pop in after one of the raids and accuse me of being a carbon copy of Zach on stream. You know, it's like
Oh my God.
literally you say the same things. You know, you're trying to be him so much or whatever it was. And I remember reading that, and I was live at the time, and I don't know if I directly, I try my best not to like draw attention to the trolls in chat, but I think at that time, I had addressed them on stream, and I'm like, look, you could be anywhere on Twitch, and if you don't like, what I got going on, the vibe, you can leave the stream. So I think we banned him, and we just kind of moved on. But that was something that, that comment kind of set with me a little bit after the stream. I'm like, why? Like, what did I do to that person? I didn't do anything. So for them to kind of come in and attack and, just come in swinging like that, it kind of threw me off. And that was the first time I kind of really experienced that. And since then I've gotten a lot better with, I just don't reply, if it's something, especially live on Twitch, if you pop in stream and you say something that is just, if you're just not a good human being, I won't entertain it. I'll just ban you and move on. And I think that's the approach that you have to take, because the banter back and forth, they want you to banter. That's, the comments, they'll tell you that you suck, and they want you to reply. And I think, they want it. They're drooling for that kind of interaction. And I just don't entertain it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how something like a comment from someone you don't even know can just floor you like that. Like you said, it's very jarring sometimes. It's just, it can take it out of you, and it doesn't even have to be a really over the top mean thing. It can be like a really innocuous comment. And but at the same time, if someone ever says something nice about the stream, nice about you, nice about what you got going on, it's like the complete opposite. You're like on top of the world. It's such a good feeling too.
It's night and day. Positivity is something that, it's one of those things where, you never know what somebody's going through. And exactly. I try to have that kind of, mantra in life is, you never know what somebody's struggle is. So leading with positivity and, just being a good, genuine person is something that I strive for in every interaction that I have with somebody. So, even if somebody pops in the stream and they're trying to be a troll, with whatever comment, I'm like, hey man, how's your day? I hope you're having a great, a great Wednesday, whatever the case may be. And it's leading with positivity is something that I think a lot more people should do, because, putting a smile on somebody's face is priceless, and you never know how much they may need that,
Yeah, especially the trolls, man. The trolls need love too, because I mean, they make us feel bad and everything like that, but the person typing that is most likely someone who's going through something as well, someone who's angry about something. It might have nothing to do with you, but they're taking it out on you.
Yeah.
Sometimes just feeding into that by being negative back just keeps that cycle going, and sometimes it's either to just ignore them, let them cool off, or, like you said, react with being positive as well as you can. It might come sarcastic sometimes, but sometimes just wishing someone for a better day or something like that can be the way to deal with it. Even as a streamer, like I personally think it's very easy to tell when someone's not vibing on stream, like maybe they're having a bad stream, having a bad day, they come online, maybe in the wrong mood or something like that. But at the same time, just because you're on stream and you're putting yourself out there doesn't mean you're immune to feeling comments, and you might be having the worst day and you've put on your stream to try and find people to hang out with, and you might be smiling on the outside, but on the inside it might not be that way. And I think going into a stream and being negative to the streamer off rip is just it's a bad thing to do, man, because you don't know what people are going through. Like you said, everyone's going through something.
Exactly. It's definitely leading with negativity is not the way to, I think, do anything in life.
So what would be something that you would give Sliim 2018 advice on? What would be Slim's tip that he needed back then to hear?
Oh man, that's a good question. Probably don't overthink it and don't give up. That's kind of where I went on a hiatus for a little bit because I just kind of lost sight of why I started streaming in the first place, and I enjoyed gaming. I enjoyed hanging out with the homies and just kind of getting lost in that expectation of, oh, when I go live, I have to have 10 people in my stream or 100 people, whatever the case may be. So I think, 2018 Sliim, if you're listening to this, just, keep your head down and believe in yourself. And in time, things will happen.
Dude, I think that's, you could say that to anyone too. It doesn't have to be Sliim.
Yeah.
2018 Sliim.
Yeah, for sure. But no, you just keep going, man. You never know who's watching. You never know what opportunities can come out of something that speaking, in the editing sense, you never know. You never know who could inquire, about your edits, or, for me with the media stuff, people can they could see my clips somewhere, or they could see some of the work I've done on weddings and whatever, and want me to work with them. That's always been really cool for me to have people come to me and be like, we saw this wedding that you shot and we love the way you did that and we would love to work with you. And I think there's opportunity for that everywhere, especially
putting your best foot out there.
Yeah, putting your best foot out there. You just, like you said, you never know who's watching. You never know. So, just do your best, put your best content out there, and always, turn the viewer count off. Don't worry about who's watching, and just do your thing, and good things will happen.
Yeah. Has there ever been like a crossover from your, I'm going to say personal life, from say Twitch and Warzone and TikTok and whatever, into your professional life of say media creation, like maybe you're shooting a music video, a wedding video, whatever? Does Warzone come up? Does streaming come up ever? Did people mention, I heard you work for Joe or something like that? Has that ever happened?
I've had people that know. It's more like a friend type thing, but I've had friends and friends of friends that I've done business for or done work for, especially in the video space, that know I stream, and they're like, "Yo, we see you on Twitch. How is that?" or whatever the case may be. I've got one friend that knows who Joe is, and yo, you're editing for Joe now? That's so crazy. I'm like, yeah, man, it's pretty cool. So they'll ask questions like that. And recently the artist that I work with for the music video, they, I guess, found my Twitter, my gaming Twitter, the BHSLiiM stuff. And I'm like, yo, we see you on Twitch. That's so crazy. Like, how does that interact? So those are always interesting conversations because, I think streaming has definitely, especially through the whole quarantine stuff the last couple of years, has obviously become more popular, and it's like everybody's streaming and trying to do stuff. So it's always interesting to have those conversations and try to give what advice I can give to them as far as, how did you start, or what can I do? You're killing it. What are you doing? I'm like, I don't know if I'm, I don't know if I'm the expert here, but I could share with you, what I've learned so far. So those are always, and especially for like friends and family members that don't really understand Twitch, is always an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it is.
Especially in those big moments, like talking about the raids that have happened, to like friends and family. They're like, well, what is a raid? Like, what, you had how many people? Like, what does that mean? Yeah. Like, was it gifted? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
So those are always interesting conversations.
Yeah. I remember, I don't think it's as, maybe it's an Australian thing, but I feel like Twitch isn't as big here compared to America. And trying to explain to either my parents or other family members what streaming is, and like I keep my gaming accounts away from my personal accounts, but there was one time where I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and see if everyone I know on my friends and family from Facebook want to know like what I do on stream. And so I put the word out, and my auntie was like, wait, so you're playing the game and like your face is on the screen too? I'm like, yeah, you're watching me play a game. And she's like, why would I watch that. And it's like, yeah, true, fair enough. I just
exactly. Yeah. I've had that conversation
kind of
too, where it's like, why do people want to watch you play a video game? Like, well,
they don't play with you; they just watch you play. Yeah.
Then I always try to bring like which that turns into a whole rabbit hole conversation as well. But it's always like, well, think about it like, you're watching your favorite player or football team or basketball team. You're watching that with them, and they're like, well, but it's video games, and then that's it. It just turns into it just goes south really quickly, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the conversation.
How has the conversation gone with your family? Like when you went to full time, like your partners, and conversation with family and friends and all that. Was that weird, or was that?
No, it was.
They understand.
Surprisingly, it was. They understood because I've always done, especially with my family, is I try to make sure that they're involved in some degree, at least know what I got going on. So, talking about streaming and talking about the big moments that I've had on stream, to date has always been something that I try to explain so they're familiar with Twitch and kind of what that is. And obviously, they are super supportive and have been of the cinematography business and the media business that I've been building out over the last, couple of years, and finally making that decision to go full time. So when I talked about that and kind of bringing the Twitch stream and the business side of that into the media business, they were super supportive of it. They were, I left a really comfortable job, working as an IT guy, especially for 12 years. I was with the same company. I didn't have to leave. I was making good money. I had health insurance, all the good stuff, retirement plans, I was in a spot where, I could have retired from that. And at one point in time in my life, that's kind of where I was with that. I was like, this is where I'll retire. But then that slowly shifted as I got more in tune with who I am as a person and my passions in life. And when I finally had that conversation, I'm leaving the 9 to 5. I'm not, I don't want to do this no more. There was some pushback, they're like, why are you, you're leaving a good job. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It was definitely tough.
People try and feel like they're looking out for your best interest. Like obviously they're not, trying to be negative for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to note too that, I didn't leave the full-time gig solely based on the income I'm making from Twitch, because that's still, I'm very early in that process, and that is definitely not what's paying the bills. I left because I had the cinematography stuff on the side that was starting to get some traction, and I was getting some business in, which helped obviously make the transition to full-time streaming a little bit easier. Like I said, averaging 7 viewers on Twitch right now, being a full-time streamer. To some people that's not a huge number. The revenue there is not like I said, it's not the main breadwinner there, but it is a part of my media business and the part of me going full-time and being self-employed. And naturally with all of that, there was a little bit of concern from friends and family, but all things considered, I think at this point they would agree that I made the right decision. So
yeah, especially that smile on your face, you can tell you're happy with this.
Yeah, I'm much happier than I was. Not that I'm still a nerd at heart, and I love all things tech and IT, and I'm always in some capacity going to be involved with that, whether it's building PCs or I've always had a goal to make my own video game. So I think it would be cool to do an iPhone game or something at one point in time. I was actually coding some stuff and playing around with Xcode back in the day, and
oh really?
Just trying to do stuff like that. So that's something that I actually have a few game ideas kind of storyboarded out in a journal that I have from a couple of years ago. And I think it would be cool to now that I have not that I have more time, but now that this is more of my focus, I think it would be cool to see some of those ideas kind of come to life. So
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be dope.
Love that.
Yeah, but I'm definitely much happier. Much happier.
Yeah, 100%. Do you? I know that you work, videos and content creation is your thing, but is there places that you look for the knowledge base? Because obviously you don't know everything when you start out, and you slowly acquire more skills over time. Is there particular resources? Is it YouTube? Is it Google? Is it professional resources that you use to learn different things, different techniques, technical stuff like that?
Well, when it comes to the technical side of things, there's, I don't have like a formal, college degree or education, so all the stuff that I learned in the IT, business, was hands-on and kind of just self-taught through, I had mentors, obviously people above me that were teaching me things. And they gave me resources, websites to go to take courses and things like that. So one of the big ones that I used for like the technical skill set was Udemy. That was a big resource. I always went there for anything tech related, whether it was trying to learn, HTML and JavaScript or whatever it was, or something more on the network fundamental side. I use that quite a bit. And they have, Udemy is a really good resource. They have tons of courses on really everything you can think of. When it comes to the video side of things, I found mentors in that space as well. There was a guy that I found on Instagram who I really loved his wedding style, the way that he shot his weddings and those films that he made. They were just, still to this day, I think he's probably the person I look up to in terms of cinematic production and just that kind of that style of filmmaking. But he has a course online that you could take, and he teaches you that. So that skill set, I purchased that course, finished it, I learned from there. He also has one on music videos, which I'm currently going through because that seems like something that I'm gonna be doing a lot more of. So pursuing those, continuing education, in a way is super important. And then for the editing side of things, I've been editing for what feels like forever, but to kind of fine tune those skill sets, I always turn to YouTube. There's always tutorials on YouTube for, and very specific too. Like if you want to learn how to make a really good slow-mo edit in Warzone, there's a YouTube video for it.
Yeah.
So YouTube's always been a huge resource for really anything I want to learn how to do. YouTube's usually the first place I turn to.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube has helped. There's, like you said, there's anything specific that you need. I know you use Adobe, but I use DaVinci.
Oh no!
This
is where the podcast just goes to.
It all goes downhill.
It all goes downhill.
Shout out DaVinci. No, there's always like, if you need to find something specific, and I always have like maybe just a weird technical thing. I'm like, there's no way you could be able to do this, and then I Google it. It's there on YouTube. There's people, putting out really helpful stuff. So I think it's important to know that anyone can edit anything. It just takes time, takes a bit of practice, and there's resources there. You can do it too. It's just matter of time, practice.
Absolutely. I started, I edited a lot of the stuff that, especially early on, I would spend some of my free time at the office, whenever I wasn't working a trouble ticket or, trying to, save the server from going up in smoke, whatever the case may be. I was a really heavy Mac user, I have the laptop sitting behind me. That was what I edited on. A lot of those early clips, especially, early Twitch days, was, Final Cut Pro. That's what I used. And then as I got more and more into the PC world and sitting in front of my Windows-based computer is kind of when I started using the Adobe software a little bit more. So I don't think it matters what you use, whether it's DaVinci, Adobe, Final Cut. you can edit it in Windows Movie Maker. You can probably make some fire stuff. I've edited in that too. So
Yeah.
you got to start everybody starts somewhere, and it's just it doesn't matter what you use. I think I've even heard of some people using like their iPads to edit.
Yep.
And their iPhones.
I know D has used his phone to edit a few Warzone clips before, and like, how does that even work? And I know some people use like basic Photoshop stuff on their phones too. It's like, wow, that looks really, really good for a phone. Like, I can't imagine.
I'm always intrigued because I'm like, being able, sitting in front of these monitors and having this much screen real estate to work with. I'm like, how can you do that on the phone? It always fascinates me that people can do that.
I know. Do you look at any of your peers, whether it's for support or for inspiration? Like, do you look at anyone and say, I love that. I want to take something that they do and I want to make it, put my spin on it, but make it mine. Or I love that guy's setup. I'm going to copy that. Or, I want to do something similar to what this guy's making or anything like that.
Yeah, of course. I've got a couple of people that I follow on Instagram, especially. I'm like a huge nerd about setups and like productivity stuff. So I'm always trying to like refine my workspace and trying to find like the best spot for things. So I got a couple of like developers that I follow on Instagram that have really clean setups that I always kind of turn to whenever I need inspiration in that area. But of course, I have a huge amount of respect for Brandon and what he does. So he's always somebody that I will always watch the things that he edits for Joe, just to see like what not that it's a competition, right? Because he's editing for the main channel, I'm editing for the second channel, but I always try to see like what is the level that video's at, and how can I bring the same type of energy and heat to the second channel. So he's always somebody that the content he's producing, I'm always watching and getting inspiration from. Nate Shot has been a huge inspiration to me throughout the years. So I'm a huge fan of what he's got going on with 100 Thieves and all that. So I'm always like watching him. He's somebody that I always tap into and just see what he's got going on content wise. For stream aesthetics, like I mentioned earlier, he's somebody that I turn to what does his stream setup look like, and how can I make mine, how can I pull from his and that inspire me.
I love that. Yeah, there's always, everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone's finding new things. And like, I've even looked at like, I love your light setup at the back. And I tried to put something at the back of mine over there. And then, just little things. I think it's not like you're trying to copy someone or be someone, but you're like, it takes inspiration and it makes something come up inside you. Like, that's me. I love that. I want to do something like that. I think it's a big compliment because I look at all you guys. I look at, D, Matt, Jared, whoever else I've interviewed, Brandon, yourself. I've always looked at you guys and thought there's parts that I'd love to take and implement in my own thing, whether it's editing, the look, the vibes, whatever it is. I think it's really good to keep your eye on everyone and come up together and sort of take inspiration from everyone.
No, I agree with that 1,000%. It's always something that but what's the saying? Imitation is the highest form of flattery, or I think that's how it goes. It's always, you're not copying, but whatever it's just natural, and whatever you watch, it's you're drawing inspiration from that. Is it kind of the you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Yes. Yeah.
You're naturally just going to kind of start taking those little cadences and stuff like that from those people. So it's always cool to see how you can inspire somebody, or how they can inspire you, and it just you see those subtle little changes in people's content that they might have pulled from somewhere else. So
I mean, I watch so much of Joe and Z and you guys as well that I've started saying things at work to my wife. It makes no sense. People don't know what I'm saying. It'll be like, I'll go out and check on someone in the warehouse that I work, and everything's going right. I'm like, all right, W, let's go. And it makes no sense. W.
Yeah, the Twitch lingo and especially the Joe and Z lingo is very much part of my daily vocabulary.
It is very contagious.
Yes.
So what are the plans for, the next year, next 5 years? Do you have a plan? Are you just going to keep going how you're going, or do you have somewhere that you want to be?
Definitely. I think I don't have one yet, but I've really been looking into like vision board stuff.
Yep.
So I think loosely throughout the years, I've kind of had like a makeshift version of a vision board, whether that be like a whiteboard that I just wrote like YouTube plans on and Twitch and kind of where, I want to see those things go. Now it's in more of like, notepad form, like on the iPhone or iPad, whatever. I kind of got notes everywhere, but I definitely have some goals for Twitch, YouTube, in the content space, and for the media business. I'd love to produce more weddings and music videos, and the ultimate goal with that is at some point I would love to direct a movie. I think that would be super, super dope, whether that's a documentary piece or a short film piece, or something, major production one day would be super dope for me. That's definitely a huge goal. And then, for the gaming stuff and the scene, I'm just trying to make the most out of the opportunity that I, was given to edit for Joe, and try to do what I can for him, and whatever opportunities come out of that, try to make the most of that. But definitely have some big goals for content, and I would love to start a podcast soon, and try to dabble in that area as well. Maybe we get on some, late night with Sliim vibes, and
yeah, definitely
play into the ASMR stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but definitely have some big goals. For me, the next year, or I don't even want to say the next 5 years, but just from here until I decide to look up, I'm just heads down trying to build out the business that I have, the media business, and just trying to make the most out of the opportunities that I've been, blessed with so far in my content creation career.
I love that you have your finger in so many different pieces. Like you can have not only just as a different revenue streams, but it's just so many different, but yet still linked hobbies and interests that have become work, and you can use them to further your skills in each of them. Like they all work off each other. You can bring value from one into the other. And I love how you've got multiple different things that you're doing, and it's not like this is what I'm going to do and you sort of ignored everything else, but you're still, every time I mentioned one thing, you touched on, video creation in another realm, and it's sort of like you don't forget about everything. You managed to switch between modes when you need to, and that's amazing. That just shows how much someone can do in 24 hours of a day. There's so many different things you can do.
Yeah, I think I made the mistake, or at least for me, the way I felt when I was working full time, is that I was stuck. Right, that's not that was the only skill set I had, but I felt like I had no other option. It's like I have to stick to the rat race. I have to work the 9 to 5. I have no other option. I can't do anything else. And I think that fear of not starting and not being able to branch out and chase my dreams and chase the passions, that fear kept me restricted for so long. And it wasn't until recently that I finally, woke up and I was like, no, you can do, you're meant for more than just working behind a desk all day. And, that kind of realization is what, kind of, kickstarted everything and kind of lit the fire under me. So I think it's important to, I'm trying to do so much and have, my hand in so many different things, because, at the end of the day, those are options. I'm not confined to just one thing. Not that I want to be a jack of all trades, but I think, having, multiple avenues to kind of, breeze up and down is definitely where I want to be in the space of just content creation and media in general.
I love that, Sliim. I love that, man. That's very inspiring, dude. Like, just hearing you talk about all this kind of stuff is very inspiring to me. I could listen to this all day.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully we can maybe do this again.
Absolutely.
Down the track, look back on things and have a listen to, how you were seeing things back then, and if it changes, and then we get to talk about Twitch partner Sliim.
Imagine. Wow.
Media magnate.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll have to definitely do that, and it definitely will be a conversation where we're both talking about Twitch partnering, because
wow,
you've got the looks better than I do, so
no,
they're not tuning into my stream for the looks. I'm just saying.
Nah, you're fine. Anyways, man, thanks for the chat. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.